So, I'm back after a week's hiatus, recovering from convention flu, which only decided to kick in until a week after the convention. I guess that is Murphy's Law and all that. But anyway, all that time has given a lot of opportunity for things to happen, and this week it's time to discuss the driving debacle. I don't know what to call it. All I know is there's been a lot of games over the last few weeks in the driving genre that have really stirred up the crap, to be quite honest. So, I don't know, where should we start? Let's start with probably the biggest high-profile problem one, and that's Sony's Drive Club. Came out to pretty good reviews, not entirely positive, but not all negative really, but most were saying it's a pretty good game. Only problem is, people couldn't play it, because the whole idea about it is they're really stressing the online connectivity of it. And the problem was, and as of recording, they still haven't properly fixed this yet. I think they're trying to, with new servers and patches, which are going live probably as of this video going out. The online isn't working. They're having to do like a one in, one out policy. So if somebody drops out, somebody goes straight into that spot, but there's only so much space that they can handle, they can stably, or handle at a stable rate. I can't think of the words. It's annoying when you're filming these things so late in the day. And because of that, the PlayStation Plus budget version of the game, because this is the big thing as well. Drive Club was supposed to be a PlayStation 4 launch game last November. It got cancelled to 2014 and then came out October. Pretty much, give or take, 11 months to the day that it should have come out. Which isn't, that good. And then, of course, you look deeper into it, and it gets even worse, because, as I say, the free version for PlayStation Plus users, which was, I say it's the value one, because it was only, like, it's the full game, but you've only got, like, so many tracks or so many cars that you can access, and in order to get everything, you need the full version. And because of all this server stability issue and the fact that it isn't working, both the US and the European PlayStation stores, and probably all around the rest of the world if your game's out there, have no PlayStation Plus version yet. Until they are confident that the servers can cope just with the people that have actually spent their $60 or their £45, however much it is, in their currency to play it, there will be no PlayStation Plus version. And this is a game which, in theory, could have been out 11 months ago, and they still haven't fixed it. Yeah, at least with Watch Dogs, when it had its delay from November to May, you actually had a game that still functioned and still worked. Okay, there were still some teething problems with it, but the main thing with that is the online play wasn't relatively mandatory, whereas with Drive Club, it seems like the thing that's being pushed is the online play. Because obviously it also connects up with social stuff. So it has like your friends playing with you even though they're not. Sort of taking the Forza approach there. Get to that in a minute. But it's not been handled very well by Evolution Studios of all surprise. Well, I guess Sony as well, because you'd have thought Sony would have realised it was a popular game, given that this is the first-party driving game from them, which there's so much to talk about. I'll get to that later as well. But yeah, really, and it's a shame for Revolution Studios, because I played their earlier games, which the most famous was I think they did the first 4 World Rally Championship games, which I think were all PlayStation exclusives on the PS2. I know there was a 5th one, Rally Evolve, but I don't know whether they were involved. But certainly, Evolution Studios know how to make good car games. It's just a shame that Drive Club has proven to be one that isn't so good. But I did mention Forza. And this, I personally feel this is much more serious than the thing not working. Which some people may go, wait, what? This doesn't make sense. But, I'm coming from a guy who, I've got a load of movies. Yeah, you noticed I did 2 relating to car driving things. Oh no. But I am also a guy that tries to get stuff on a budget. Like that, I think I got for at least half the price. You've seen some of the games that I've got. I haven't bought them full price. I haven't bought them new. Bugs Life and Time Splitters 2. All those ones you've seen previously on my videos. And there's a lot, trust me. There's a lot which I've got from bargain bins when they've been pre-owned or reduced. So I know that my main aim in life at the minute is not for buying the new next-gen stuff at its full price. It's trying to get the best deals, the best savings, even if it is pre-owned. Just get it at a cheaper price because that's all I can afford. Which is where we move to Forza Horizon 2. Which came out, again, to a lot of, actually more positive than negative reviews at all, really liking it, which is good, because the original Forza Horizon, I think, was arguably a much better game than the Forza Motorsport games have been over the last 2 iterations in Forza 4 and Forza 5. Yes, that is a tongue twister. But Forza Horizon 2 came out to great fanfare, and they were saying, oh, you're going to have lots of after support with DLC on our platforms. It's going to be absolutely brilliant. So, I think it's October the 7th, no, it would have been the week before, so September the 30th for the US, and not North America, and then October the 3rd for Europe. Forza Horizon 2 comes out and sells really well on the Xbox One and the Xbox 360, because people are going, oh wait, this is going to be a really good game, I'm really looking forward to it. Then, about the following Tuesday, so about the 7th or the 8th, Microsoft / I know it isn't Turn 10, I can't remember the studio, I think it's Playground. But then the guys that did the 360 version was a different studio. But anyway, the guys from Forza Horizon / Microsoft announced that the Xbox 360 version of the game will be getting no DLC content whatsoever. And it's only coming to the Xbox One. But the thing is, this was after people that can't afford a $350 console, £330 console, depending where you are. People can't afford that. And then also, if you take into account the price of the game, I think you can probably get it for about, certainly over here, £35 for the Xbox 360 one. The Xbox One is going in supermarkets, which is normally where the cheapest it is, for about 46. So in essence, it's not cheaper. It just really isn't. Whereas you see like some other games like FIFA, where the version on the 360 is already much cheaper than it is on the next gen consoles, on the One or PS4, let's say. So for those people that don't want to spend, let's say a $350, $400 bundle with the game, depending where you are, of course. I think here there's bundles going for about $350. But people don't have that sort of money, especially if they've had a 360 for the last 3 or 4 years. Unless they want to trade up for the Xbox One, which, to be honest, looking through the list of games that have come out this year exclusively for that console, they don't even fit on 2 hands. PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 3 exclusives fit on about 6 or 7 hands. A lot more. I mean, I'm not going to bring up the list now, but all I can think of off the top of my head is Titanfall, which, okay, that's on PC, but it's only on console-wise. It's only on the 360 and the One. Fable, Halo, which is still to come out. There's a whole load of indie ones with the whole parity clause thing, but if you look at first-party disc release games, I think, as we currently stand, there's only been about 6 or 7, including Forza Horizon. Whereas on Sony consoles, I think there's been 7 PS4 ones alone. Exclusive. Okay, Last of Us Remastered is, but then again, we've already talked about Fable Anniversary, and let's be honest, Halo Master Chief Collection is sort of a remastered Halo 1 to 4. As much as you might want to admit it. But, yeah, those people that don't have the money to afford the next-gen version, why should they get punished for not having the money for it? As if to say, oh, you're poor, you don't get this, you don't get this extra content, you don't get the money. We take the money, we keep it for Xbox One. There's no... It's just not fair. You know, I don't want to bring up The Last of Us, but for The Last of Us Remastered, they've said the new content is coming to PS4, but they've said, for people who still have it on the PlayStation 3, or haven't got it yet on the PS3, that content will be free for them as well. Not just for the people on PS4. And that's the sensible thing. You are not cheating anybody out. Because obviously people have it on the PS3, they may not have a PS4, and this PS4 is getting the new content. Naughty Dog is giving it to them on the PS3. Apparently, because it's developed by a completely different studio, the Xbox 360 version of Forza Horizon 2, it's like, oh no. Anyway, next up on the docket, Ubisoft's The Crew. Which is, again, sort of like Drive Club, suffered release date cancellation after release date cancellation. Because it was originally supposed to be out, I think, October, November last year. Again, sort of a launch title. This then got cancelled to, I think it was about April or May-ish. This then got cancelled again to November the 11th, I think it was. And then all of a sudden, because of Far Cry getting announced for the following week, the 18th, and then Assassin's Creed games coming out on the Assassin's Creed games having to be delayed by a few weeks. Well, certainly Unity had to be delayed by a few weeks to the 11th of November. All of a sudden, Ubisoft had 3, and if you count Assassin's Creed Rogue as well, even though it's on last gen, 4 big games in the space of 7 days. And in actual fact, because I'm not sure about the release dates over here, if the Assassin's Creed games are coming out over here on a Friday rather than a Tuesday, that means there'd be 4 Ubisoft games in 4 days. Friday, Saturday, no, 5. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. And that's just ridiculous. So it makes sense for them to move it to the 2nd of December. But once again, it's sort of the case of this is something that they're proud of. And from what I saw of it at the Games Expo, it looks pretty damn good and plays pretty damn good. But because of everything that's happening around it, it keeps getting shuttered and shuttered and moved back, so that it doesn't even now come into the lucrative Black Friday window for the American players of the game. It's after that, so if you only do your shopping for Christmas on Black Friday, too bad. They can sort of get away with it over here because obviously most of the Christmas shopping over here is done up in the run-up to Christmas. Hence why you're getting Super Smash here released like first week in December, whereas in North America it's coming out the 21st of November because they know that following week, with Thanksgiving happening, Super Smash is going to be a big draw for the holiday buys. Or let's be honest, they're hoping on that, otherwise Nintendo's probably screwed. But yeah, and and then we come to Gran Turismo, because it came out in an interview this week that Kaz Yamauchi, Kaz is, I think it's Kazuya, like in Tekken form, but he's just normally referred to as Kaz. Previously he said, right, if you want Gran Turismo 7, don't worry, it's coming in 2014. Admittedly, he said this like 2 years ago, when Gran Turismo 6 just came out for the PlayStation 3, which everyone thought was a bit weird. But then again, that saw delays from 2008 to 2009. And then only just made it into 2010, because I think it came out like December the 17th, like the week before Christmas. So now, all of a sudden, he said it's probably not coming till 2015, or even more likely, 2016. So all of a sudden, the biggest franchise in terms of racing that Sony's got, that's even delaying itself by multiple years. You know, it was back in the day when, certainly with Gran Turismo 3, which came as a launch title, not that long after Gran Turismo 1 and 2, because I think Gran Turismo 1 was 96, I think? Wasn't a launch title. Certainly, GT3 came out 99, 2000 it would have been. Because that was a launch title for the PS2, as I say. Arguably the pinnacle of that franchise was Gran Turismo 4. I'd still say it's probably the best racing game that Sony's put out in terms of a simulation thing. And the fact that this keeps getting delayed as well, and people want it, even like a tidbit, because they've pretty much said now, considering how the prologue versions of the game over the last few iterations, including Gran Turismo 4 itself, really didn't get the sales whatever they were thinking. You won't be seeing a Gran Turismo game until Gran Turismo 7. There won't be like a preview prologue thing. There'll probably be a demo, but there won't be a grand sort of deal. So, again, it's another gaming franchise that people like that's getting screwed on. Then we need to bring up Need for Speed, because EA's big announcement is there is no new racing game this year. Oh, by the way, we are doing a special complete edition of Need for Speed Rivals for all those of you on next-gen consoles that paid over the top for a game which in essence really isn't a game. Because don't get me wrong, Need for Speed Rivals is good once you get into it. Because the problem is, even for experienced players, there is an up to 2-hour tutorial telling you what each of the buttons do. There is just a tutorial for learning how to use the accelerator. There is just a tutorial for learning how to use the brake. There is a tutorial to teach you how to turn. There is a tutorial to teach you how to drift. There are so many tutorials on it that even people that are used to playing video games, or driving games should I say, were getting bored of it because they know how to do this. They've been playing Need for Speed games for years. Why do they need to be told it? Well, when you go back to some of the games even previously in the iteration, like Hot Pursuit and the reboot of Underground, or the reboot of Hot Pursuit and the reboot of Underground, they were really fun because they would just pick up and play. There was no tutorial. It was like, you know how driving games go, don't you? Right trigger is accelerator, left trigger is brake. Okay, let's go. This one, it's like, oh, you have to do it right. Otherwise, we'll be on to you. So yeah, a complete edition with all the DLC that probably people have already got, except they're now paying probably, I don't know, £30 rather than the $50 that they paid, not including DLC, back at launch, for a game which really wasn't that good. But, EA had that issue last year. Battlefield. But speaking of that, that's another one that I bring up. Battlefield. Because in essence, your driving game for 2014, which then got delayed to 2015, is Battlefield Hardline. At least from the game mode that I saw. Because it was the car one. I can't even remember what it's called now. Not Pit Stop. I can't even remember what it's called. But I should. But the car driving mode in the game, the whole idea is there are like 4 or 5, certainly with Battlefield games, one of the ones is like hold the point, hold the area. I can't remember the name of the mode on the top of my head. I should do. Stronghold or something. Basically, you've got to hold an area for a time, and over time you get points. Well, in this new game mode, the idea is that you've got to take possession of cars. And the more you drive around in said cars, the more points you get, and the more likely you are to win. On the game that we played, which was, I think, 12 versus 12 or 16 versus 16, I can't remember. My team won by 8,000 points, I think it was, to 400. Because the thing is, you are putting a driving thing, you're putting a driving mode into a shooting game. And the whole aspect was, oh, you can team up with your friends and they can be shooting out your car to take out other cars. Nobody was bothering with that. They were thinking it was Call of Duty, which I don't blame them, because that's what all the other Battlefields have been about. Because even in the mode that they debuted at E3, the first mode with the cops and robbers, when you've got to get the stash and drive it to like the hot spot and the safe zone, the cars are only there to get you quicker from point A to point B. It wasn't the whole point. The cars weren't actually the point of winning the game. The winning the game was taking, thing from point A, as I say, to point A to point B. With the cars, you could just have everybody in the cars and all the others shooting blindly, which you can then run them over anyway. And there was nobody getting in all the cars and trying to take out other people. Half the time when I saw people driving around, there was only the driver in them driving them. So in essence, that's a broken game mode. It's fancy to see it there, and it looks impressive, but unless you actually get the idea of everybody's supposed to ride in the car, so it's like a cops and robbers chase, like the trailers make it out to be, they aren't going to play it like that, because the majority of people were just running from point A to point B on these large maps, simply trying to take down enemies and shoot them, not realizing the whole purpose is get the cars, hold them, get points. And the amount of times that I even stood in, well, I didn't even stood in a queue, but I stood nearby to see what was going on. The amount of times this was happening was absolutely ridiculous. So, the thing is, why am I talking about this? Well, in all this, when all this negativity is happening, there is one game that looks to be taking every single opportunity to be the best racing game of this year. And that is being developed by Namco Bandai. I think that's what they're called now. It might be Bandai Namco. I can't remember. But it's Project Cars. And I think it's like a relatively small indie studio, that's working on it. It's just Namco that are publishing it. And, the game was playable on the floor, and in essence, it was exactly like, in a good way, a Forza or a Gran Turismo. It was a really good simulation-style game. It really held the essence of what a driving game should be. Okay, I've only seen it in demo form, but it hasn't been shown in a useless way, a la Battlefield. It hasn't suffered from numerous cancellations, because they've always said that it was going to be coming out sometime in the late fall in 2014, which November is. It's not seemingly suffering from different console generations being affected by it, because it's only next gen, because it needs the processing power for it. And admittedly, we don't know this yet because it hasn't come out, but hopefully it won't be suffering the same issues as Drive Club. So, when all these big companies are, faffing about, not knowing what they're doing, it looks like as if a small company that you wouldn't really expect, like Bandai Namco, although with respect, they did do the Ridge Racer franchise, but regardless of that, what happened to Ridge Racer? That just disappeared, because they realised, ever since Ridge Racer 5, people haven't liked our games. That's the main reason there. So, yeah, 2014. I mean, bar probably the F1 game, which I think has only just come out, and I can't give an opinion on because it wasn't playable at the convention or anything. 2014 has been a really bad year for driving games. If you look at any other year, there's always been something that stood out. Okay, Forza had some issues with microtransactions last year, but in essence, it was a very good game. 2012, you had Need for Speed Underground. 2011, I think that was probably... No, 2011 would have been... No, 2012 would have been Forza Horizon, which was very good as well. I can't even remember. But this is sorry. This is the first real year that, apart from Project Cars, which we'll have to see in November, this really hasn't been a great year. It's a surprise. Let's just hope this is the same thing for first-person shooters in 2015.